No, I went through the leadership program when I was assistant managing. I was still searching what I was wanting to do. And going through the initiatives in the leadership program, it opened my mind to this path. Like I said, I was searching for. I knew I wanted to do good, and I wanted to connect our business, and that's where it came from. Was doing these initiatives through the leadership program helped in. I mean, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now without the leadership program. All right.
Awesome. Well, episode 2 of the Leadership Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo podcast. Really excited to be here. If you listen to the first one with Satari and I'm the current chair of the program. And so we're going to bring on various hosts. And so really excited to have Sam, good friend, classmate of mine.
Classmate, 2020-21.
Best class.
Best class.
Right?
Best class.
Everybody says that, though.
Everybody says it, but it's true in our case.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So just for our listeners, let's just, who's Sam? What do you do? Give us the story.
Sam Grantham. I work for OK Tire Store. I'm in sales, or was in sales. So let's start at the beginning, I guess.
Sure.
Actually, I'll just start from the beginning of how I got here. I think would be the
Take
best
us way
way to
back.
go about. Yeah, that'll be the easiest way to go about it. So I started at Buffalo Wild Wings in 2010. I was 20 years old. I was a cashier. Everybody starts as a cashier, you know. Got to work your way up. So I cashiered for a brief amount of time, and then, you do a good job, you move into serving, right? Sure. That's where you make your money, is serving. So I did that for about 2.5 to 3 years, with my main goal to be a bartender.
Okay.
Right? Because everybody knew that's really where you make your money, is bartending.
Sure.
So about after 2.5 to 3 years, I started bartending, and I loved it. Didn't think that would be the route for the next 10 years, but I absolutely loved it. It was great money, which was part of the problem. Tough place to leave when you're making that money in your 20s. But I loved the people that I worked with. It was a fun atmosphere. Again, probably too much fun, hard to leave. But no, I graduated college. I went to college in that same time frame. Went to NDSU my first year. Had no idea what I wanted to do. It was a tough first year. And I was like, this spot just isn't for me. Love NDSU and all they do. I think it's an amazing school. It wasn't clicking for me at that time as a freshman. So I went over to MSUM, enrolled in their mass communications, advertising and PR department. And then I graduated in 2012 with that degree. I had a job right out of college. It was kind of one of those jobs where you sit in front of a computer all day long and upload stuff into a
mind-numbing
computer.
work.
Very mind-numbing. Again, great people, just wasn't the right job for me.
Sure.
And I was making about half as much money as I was bartending full time. So I was like, after about a year doing that, I was like, I'm going to go back to bartending because that was more fun to me at the time. I was 23 years old at that time. And I was just looking to have fun at what I was doing. And I knew I didn't want to sit down at a desk all day long. And so I just didn't. And I didn't really have a plan, and for the next 7 years or so, didn't have a plan. And those years went by fast because I was working, making money. I bought a house in that time. I mean, I was productive somewhat. I saved enough money to buy a house in 2017. And I took great pride in that. I bought it by myself, and those were some fun years too. I had a couple of roommates it was during the COVID years. We were all stuck in the same house, but we made some good times out of it, kind of thing. But no, my turning point from knowing that I needed to do something different from Buffalo Wild Wings was, okay, I turned 30 years old, and I knew I couldn't do that for the rest of my life. It wasn't for me. I wasn't looking to manage a store. I just knew that I needed a change. And an old friend that I used to bartend with, she was a headhunter, and she got me an interview with OK Tire Store.
Okay.
So she got me through the door there. It was for sales, tire sales, at our Main Avenue store in Fargo. And I knew nothing about tires. Not a lick. I didn't know what a tire size was. I didn't know what it looked like.
I still don't, for the record.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So there was a good amount of training for an amount of time. And, but once you get the basics down, that can be a fun job too. It's very taxing. I learned that about a year and a half in. I was like, ooh, I don't know if this is for me for the next, 5 years or so.
Sure.
So knowing that I in my day-to-day, I knew I needed a little bit more out of my day-to-day as far as responsibility goes. My manager at the time had recently, about a year and a half in, he recently went over to a corporate position. So some of those management opportunities were there for me to kind of pick up. Not all of them, obviously, but I would do some, reports here and there and open the store, close the store, those types of things. And then that kind of led me into a assistant management role for our Main Avenue store and our new South Fargo store that had opened in 2019.
Sure.
So there's definitely a lot of work to be done. So I did that for about a year and a half. And in that meantime is when I was enrolled into the leadership program. Because I knew that I knew it would be positive for me because I was still searching for that. What do I want to do in my day to day? I knew I wanted to be productive. I knew I wanted to learn something new every day. And I thought, well, I'll give this program a shot because what else do I have to lose, kind of thing?
Sure.
So yeah, that's how I got introduced into the program, is just searching the chamber website, and this leadership program popped up, and I applied and went through the interview process. And that was a big thing in my interview process, that I knew I wanted to do something positive in the community in some way. And I was doing that somewhat, but I was doing it through a company, which is no big deal. It's great working for a company that allows you to do those things. But on a personal level, I knew I needed more in order to be fulfilled for myself.
Sure. Yeah. I think what's really cool about your story is that a career path doesn't look the same for everybody, right? You kind of talked about you loved what you did, bartending. It's hard to leave, but you were seeking more, right? And I think that's human nature, in that we always like to be seeking more, right? So you kind of already alluded. I want to take it one step further, but why this program specifically? What made you apply?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I didn't know what I was doing at that time, and I saw leadership, and I knew it was a prestigious program, and I wanted to be a part of something that has a long track record of doing good in the community.
Sure.
Of being, this force, so to speak, of you see these people coming out of the program and you're like, well, I don't know necessarily what I want to do, but I know that I want to be like more like that person that's doing good. And that was my biggest thing is I just wanted to do good in some way so I could feel good about what I was doing every day.
Sure. And we've talked about the program being very community focused. And I don't know if you maybe talked specifically about what you do now at OK Tire, but they're pretty connected as far as community driven, right?
Yeah. So that after that year and a half of assistant managing, I had realized that also wasn't my calling necessarily. And I had this public relations and marketing degree just sitting back that I hadn't done anything with. And so I wrote a job description for a PR and marketing position for OK Tire because I'd seen we're a fast growing company. I mean, we've been around for 60 years, but we were a newly ESOP company, employee owned company in 2019. We went 100% employee owned in 2019. So with that comes quick growth.
Yeah.
That's how you get your share price up. You acquire things.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a marketing or PR department. And we're a company of roughly 250 employees. And I just saw that as kind of a void. I felt like there needed to be somebody in that position that could day-to-day connect with internally our employees, whether it's managers, just listening to their marketing needs and connecting that with our third-party marketing agency that we work with. In doing so, I felt it was really important to connect with the community as well. And not just Fargo. Our goal is to connect in every community that we're in. We have 17 locations across North Dakota and Minnesota. And it's an important aspect of what OK Tire is to be connected in the community. Because you need trust when you're in the automotive. I mean, any business you need trust, but you really need trust in the automotive industry because people come in just thinking they're trying to rip you off.
Yep.
And that's a hard thing to go through. And I knew it firsthand, working at the retail space, the people are just looking at you like, do I really need this kind of thing?
Yeah.
So you want to build that trust. And it was tough on me going through it because I wasn't trying to rip people off. And it's a hard thing to go through when you're really trying to help people out. But they just from past, experiences that they might have had, it's tough for them to just trust. And if you're a company that can be connected through the chamber or doing good events on a regular basis, and people seeing that, that's a good thing for your business. And that was part of my pitch was to OK Tire is we need somebody connecting our business to the community. If we want to continue to be successful long term and build our brand and our business, we need somebody connected. It's a big aspect of what we're trying to do, because what we're trying to do is serve the community. Not just Fargo, but every community that we're in.
So can I boldly make the assumption that the leadership program enhanced that skill set that you already had into this new role?
That bingo. Yeah. No, I went through the leadership program when I was assistant managing. I was still searching what I was wanting to do. And going through the initiatives in the leadership program, it opened my mind to this path. Like I said, I was searching for. I knew I wanted to do good, and I wanted to connect our business, and that's where it came from. Was doing these initiatives through the leadership program helped in. I mean, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now without the leadership program. I don't think I would have found that path at all.
Is there any one thing about the leadership program that makes you say that? Like, could you put it down to one thing?
I don't know if I could put it down to one thing.
Because it's not just one thing for this
It's not
program.
one thing. It's not one thing. You go through so much in this program that it's just like an all-encompassing just thought. I like to think of it as a thought process. While you're going through this program, you break it up into different months and you're doing different things each month. And it's kind of like building, you know, like, so you start, let's say you start at the ground. For me, I considered myself at the ground. I was out of place. I felt out of place.
You had imposter syndrome? You didn't feel like you belonged?
But I really was out of place because I didn't have any experience. You know, this program, there's a lot of different people that come from a lot of different backgrounds. And a lot of these backgrounds are professional settings. Bankers, architects, eye doctors. I was a bartender. I was selling tires, you know, so I did have difficulty feeling like I should be there. So yeah, it was like starting at ground zero and building. I was challenging myself to go outside my comfort zone every month that we were doing the program. And it was a tough thing, but that's what you got to do is just build month to month to month and try to find your path. Like that was my biggest thing is, okay, I need to find my path somehow. And I knew I was looking for something. I just didn't know what it was, but the program helped me narrow in on this specific path.
Well, and I think we maybe all feel like outsiders that first time, but or the first sit down of the program, and then you quickly get to see who we have in that, right? It's talking about our class specifically. We had nonprofit, we had banking, we had doctors, we had high level executives, and we can't forget age either. We had some young guys, and we had some older. This program is for everybody. Is what I like to tell people. For everybody at any different position of their career.
It's amazing. Yeah. I wouldn't have, I didn't know what to think of it going into it. Again, I was hoping to get something out of it, whether it was professionally, networking. I couldn't have imagined learning how to create a thought process on bettering yourself.
Sure.
So yeah, that was my biggest thing out of it was I just learned how to navigate a certain thought process and just be better every day that I'm here. You know, that's my biggest thing is just try to make the right move or a right move every single day that I go to work. Like that's my goal is just I'm going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But my goal is to make a right move in a positive direction, whatever it may be, whether it's helping a coworker out or, you know, even if it's not professional, you know, it's doing the right thing around the house, you know?
Yeah.
Vacuuming, you know? Like, which I should probably do more of, my wife says, but...
Also guilty of it. That's fair.
But no, I think that's just the key for me anyways, is just keeping that in the back of my mind is just do something good every day and just do something positive and do something right in your mind.
So this is episode 2. Zatari and I sat down for the first one. We kind of gave an overview of the program. So you're the first, we'll call real guest of this. So a question that I would ask, we're a couple years removed from graduation. We've become pretty good friends. I've got to know you over the years. What would you tell the Sam that's sitting down at that first session?
Just keep going. Just keep going. Because it's going to be hard. You're going to want to feel like skipping a couple of sessions. I know you get, how many do you get to skip? One or two?
We don't want you to skip any.
Well, right, but before you get kicked out.
We don't want you to skip any.
I know.
Because every session's so different.
Yeah.
8 hours.
8 hours. Okay, it's 8 hours. My point is don't skip any hours. You know, like just keep going. Because it's so worth it. It was so worth it for me because now I'm obviously working for OK Tire, but I get to do other things too. that are inspiring to me and fun and creative. And I wouldn't have. I really don't think I would have found this path without the program.
Well, and I don't know if you could have set me up honestly any better there, Sam, when you talked about get to do other things.
Yeah.
So this podcast idea, we've talked about it. We've tried it in the past and we're like, we got to bring it back, but we got to elevate it. How do we elevate it? And I was sitting down with Satari and I said, listen, I know somebody from my class that's starting this really cool thing. Let's get together. So we're here today because of leadership, but because of you. So let's talk about these, what more you get to do. Why are we here? What did you start?
So I started a podcast production company. And the idea is to give businesses, brands, a platform, on a professional platform to tell their story. The idea is to, tell their internal story, tell their external story, bring on, it's basically whatever you want to do to tell your story, tell your brand story. If you're working with partners, bring them on so they can tell their story. It's just about, I feel like there's a need to more direct, streamlined need to connect businesses in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And what better way to sit down and just have an open conversation and let people kind of be like a fly on the wall, kind of thing, and just and listen to conversations with interesting, people from different businesses, and just tell people what you do. I'm also a chamber ambassador, and I find it so interesting going to these ribbon cuttings of companies that I didn't know existed. I didn't know what they did. I've lived in Fargo-Moorhead my whole life, all 35 years. And there's places in town that I didn't know that they were here, and I didn't know what they do. So that's a good opportunity for me to learn about what's going on in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And that kind of led me to think, okay, what if they had the ability to sit down and have conversations like this? What if people outside of the ambassador program got to see what their business was, what they did, what was important to them, why they do what they do, how did they get there? To me, that's super interesting. And I think that other people will find that interesting too. So that's kind of that's the idea behind what I do with this podcast production company.
It's the story and the journey, right?
It's the story and the journey. Yeah. And I think I think good will come out of it.
Well, and with another, obviously bringing it back to the program, we always talked about the connectedness of a class, right? There's 40 individuals in each class, and they get to know each other really, really well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Obviously, we've been connected a little bit longer, being public relations ambassadors together, overlapping in quite a few ways that way. So when this podcast idea came up of like, let's bring it back, I instantly got to dig into my Rolodex of who do I know from leadership?
Yeah.
And that Sam Grantham showed up in my mind. I was like, we got to call Sam. Let's see what we can partner with Sam and do.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's just network. It's just being connected in the community and getting to know different people, getting to know, what they do. It makes things so much easier, and that's what I hope to do on a personal level. I also want to do this so I can learn something new every day too. Whether it's me just sitting in the back at a table, listening and watching the podcast. Like, I think that's the most interesting part of this new venture for me, is just like getting to learn, being there firsthand, getting to meet people across businesses and the people that they bring in. Yeah. So you never know what's going to happen in the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years, and how that person you might have met during a podcast shoot can turn into something in the future.
Yeah.
So personally, that I love that aspect of the podcast company, but I also want to bring the story out to the people of Fargo-Moorhead and the surrounding area of these businesses.
Well, and we appreciate you letting us be able to tell the story of leadership. It's a legacy program. It's been going on for 30 years. So we're really glad you're helping give us a platform for people to learn more.
I'm so excited.
No, it's been fun.
It's going to be awesome.
So best class of 2021. Do you have a favorite session, a standout moment, something like that from our year?
Our year was tough. It was during COVID, so we had a few sessions that were online over Teams or Zoom. So anything that stood out, I can't say that there is one. Any opportunity that we got to get together in person was pretty big for me, because it was like nerve-wracking for me. It was kind of like I said at the beginning, I didn't feel like I necessarily belonged. I was very surprised that I got into the program. But so getting together in person with people that I thought were much advanced in their career over mine, I was like, ooh, how do I act around these people? Like, how do I just be around these people? Because I didn't really have much to offer besides like, you need a deal on tires, kind of thing. So, that stood out the most to me, is just like being able to get together in person all through this time frame that like nobody really knew, like, this COVID situation, and it was tough on everybody. And you're like, well, should we even be around each other? But you still get to be together, and it was going way outside my comfort zone. And I can imagine it was a lot of people felt that way too, just because of the uncertainty of the times.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that I would say sticks out to me the most, is getting outside my comfort zone did more for me than I think any one event or program.
And I've talked to quite a few of our classmates over the years, and I think they echo a lot of the same thing. It was we did a lot of things virtually. It's really hard to connect.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of our class, we craved that connectivity so hard.
Yes.
That after, we probably spent more time together, maybe after the program in person than during the program.
Yeah. There's a few happy hours. Yeah.
A few.
We gotta get one rolling again.
We gotta get our class back together, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Yep. I see some here and there at ribbon cuttings. But even if they're not ambassadors, I'm part of companies.
Yeah.
So that's fun, getting to see people that you haven't seen in a few years. But yes, we need to get some kind of a happy hour going.
We'll get everybody back together for a social of sorts here. So, Sam, I've really enjoyed this conversation together, getting to let you tell your story, ask those questions. So I'm going to end it. We're kind of going to have a standard question we're going to ask all of our guests. Who is a leader?
Who is a leader?
I know it's hard.
It is hard. I think it can be anybody that you look up to, but you got to be careful on that. So really, anybody can be a leader. Like, I'm sure you're gonna get that answer 1,000 times over.
We're gonna trademark it. Honestly, that's the plan.
Yep. I think it's important to think of yourself as a leader. Whether you're doing good things or trying to find those good things that you're doing, I think it's just important to think of yourself as a leader in life and do the right things. Try to do the right things day in and day out. Some days are going to be more productive than others. Some days, I like to sit and watch football all day long on Sundays. I wouldn't consider that being productive. But that's also something that I like to take one day out and just kind of relax, and watch. So getting off topic, I think anybody can be a leader. But I really think that everybody should think of themselves as a leader in some way so they can keep moving forward.
Love it. Keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward.
If that's Sam Grantham's slogan right there. Keep moving forward and do good things.
Do good.
Do good.
Do good.
Awesome. Well, Sam, again, really appreciate your time, helping us give us a stage to tell this story. We'll be seeing a lot more of you behind the camera.
Yeah.
I hope so. Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Crushed it.
All right.